Hi, my name is Idan and I'm an R&D manager here at ALM Octane. ALM Octane was designed to help you quickly deliver your project with very high quality. We do this by collecting the information from various sources and giving you a way to easily analyze and drill down into the information you need in order to make the right decisions for your project. ALM Octane has two types of entities. It's called work items, which are used to manage and track the progress of your project, and the others are called tests, and they basically track the quality or the ongoing quality of your project, both currently, in the future, and in the past. ALM itself has 7 modules, but all modules look at the same entities, only in different ways to help you get to the information you need as quickly and as efficiently as possible. 7 modules are My Work, where you see work that's specifically assigned to you; Backlog, where you manage your backlog; Quality, where you manage the quality of the project; Pipelines, where you manage the connection to the different CI systems used by the project; Dashboard, where you can see analysis on your project; Team Backlog, which is a specific view that helps you manage your day-to-day operations of your team; and Defects, where you can see your defects in a clear view. The backlog module is used to track your backlog items. Backlog items are used to track the current development of your system. Like all modules in ALM Octane, the backlog module is designed to help you narrow down and focus on exactly what you need to do without seeing overhead information and extra information that's not interesting. In order to achieve that, we provide you with several filters that allow you to narrow your context and work only on what you need. At the top, we have the release context, which helps you focus on a specific release that you're working on. In the beginning, it will show you everything that's in the system, and if you filter it down, for example, for first release, a couple of things will happen. The first thing is that you will see an overview of the release, of where you stand inside the release timeline and where you are as far as the release is concerned. On the left-hand side, you will see a tree that will show you all the items in a hierarchical manner and will allow you to drill down into a specific epic or feature to see where you're standing in that epic or feature. On the right-hand side, we have the tags. The tags allow you to quickly filter and switch filters for what's interesting you at the moment. So, for example, I can see only the defects that are in the new state to be able to see what's coming in the system very quickly. In addition to that, we can further filter by using the inner filter, which will let you filter on any other field in the system. One example would be I want to see the highest priority items that need to be fixed at the moment, so I can just say I want to see very high and urgent defects, click OK, and the system will filter this accordingly. Together, all of these filters will allow me to see a very unique and precise situation. In addition to all of those filters, your last option is to use the search capability, which is utilizing a very high-speed text search engine and allows you to quickly search for a specific word. The search engine will search all the descriptions and names of all the items that are currently in context and will help you quickly get to where you need to go. So I can type anything in the search and the system will find whatever matches the search. Each one of our modules usually provides more than one view. So we have what we call the smart list view, which shows you a lot of information in a very graphical ways and allows you to quickly go over the system and see pertaining information in a very easy way. So for example, we can see severity is very graphical, the progress of the defect that can give you a breakdown directly from here without having to drill down. In addition, some of the items will have additional drilling capabilities. For example, I can see the tasks that were attached to this defect, so I can see if something needs to be done or not. The other view that we provide in almost all modules is the grid view, which gives you a very customizable view and which allows you to see all of the items and any field you want in a grid manner, and allows you to do stuff like adding new columns that you want to see. So you'll be able to customize the view and see exactly what you want to see. In addition to that, this view is inline editable. So I can easily go into any of the items and change them directly from the grid without having to go into the details. In addition to all of this, we provide several views on the left-hand side. So the first view we provide is called the planning view, which allows you to quickly see where the release is standing at the moment. So here we're seeing two releases, first release and second release. I can see that I'm a little bit overbooked for the first release and that some of my teams are very overloaded. I can also see that I have some items that are assigned to no team, which means I have to assign them to a team. I can use this view to easily assign items. So I can just click on any item and drag it to a specific team, and that item will be assigned to this team going forward. I can also easily drag it to the release. So drag an item to a different feature or epic. One more thing I can do is I can have a little preview to see additional information in a way that's easier to read. So I can go into any of the items and quickly see the comments or add a new comment if I want. And I can move this to a different phase. So let's say I'm going to take a new defect and I want to say that it's fixed. I can easily click here and say I fixed it. Okay. This will allow me to easily do some stuff without having to go further. One last option that we offer to all of the items in the system, regardless of what they are, is the ability to add user tags. User tags are unique in two ways. First, they allow me to add a user tag. The tags are user-based, which means they need no administrative rights and any user can add them. And B, they can be appended to any item in the system, and you can use the same tag on different item types in order to group them in a meaningful manner. I want to be able to mark a defect that's going to say no fix for now. Okay, so I can mark it easily, and I can mark another one as no fix for now. Once I create a tag, the tag will show automatically, so I won't have to retype it again. And if the type doesn't exist, it will propose to create a new tag. Once the items are tagged, I can go into the tags view and choose the tag, and the system will filter them accordingly. Okay, so this is a kind of ad hoc grouping and filtering capability that's built into the system. One more thing that the system will do is it will try to narrow down and show you only the relevant information. So for example, I can go into features, and if I go into features, I will not see the epics and feature teams because I can't have a feature under a feature. If I go into an epic, I'll be able to see the features that are part of this epic. And if I go into the backlog, I'll be able to see both all of the epics that were defined and all of the features that were defined. Of course, I can also go into stories and see all of the stories that were defined. Other views that I have in this backlog module are the commits, which allow me to easily see which commits were made that affected the stories that I'm developing. I can see the message of the commit and the user that actually made the commit. And in addition, if I go down and drill down, I will see only the commits that affect a specific epic or a specific feature. Clicking on any specific commit will allow me to see the changes or the file changes that were made in this commit, so I can easily know what areas of the application or the application code were affected while making the changes needed to implement the story or the defect. I also have a tests view that allows me to see the status of the quality of my release or my backlog. I can see all the tests that were attached to a specific epic or a specific feature. And if I go into any of those tests, I can easily see the status of the last run and whether it succeeded or not, and even drill down and see exactly what happened inside the run to understand what went wrong. In addition, and last, I have the overview tab, which gives me a nice overview where I can customize and choose whatever widgets I want to show, so I can easily see what's the status of any specific feature or epic or the entire backlog if I so want. I can also tag it, I can also filter it by the tags that I created previously. The backlog module provides an overview for business analysts and managers to see how the backlog is going on. For the day-to-day work of the teams, we provide a specific view or a specific module that's called a team backlog, which provides a more focused view on the day-to-day working. The team backlog is always filtered by a release sprint and team and allows me to see the team progress, all the critical defects that are open on me, and the timeline of the current sprint and release in a very quick and easy view, so I can concentrate on the most urgent stuff. And in addition, it allows me to see the stories, tests, and tasks that are assigned to me specifically for the sprint. I can drag any of the stories, whether it's a user story or a defect, to a specific member. and I can easily see how my members are doing and if I'm overloading them or not. And as you can see, we can quickly see what each member is standing at. I can see if the member has any defects, and if it doesn't have any defects, he's going to have a little crown. And I can switch between the views just like I could in the other system, in the other modules. I also see the tests that are needed to be run and what's the status for this specific sprint. And last but not least, I can see the tasks. Tasks are an additional breakdown of stories, and it allows me to assign specific tasks that needed to be completed in order to finish a user story or a defect. Each task is estimated by hours, and the developer can easily adjust the number of hours he actually invested and how many hours he has remaining to work. This can later be used to identify and understand how much time you estimated for the task in the user stories and understand how much time you actually put into it by comparing the user stories assigned to the hours actually invested in the project. One more interesting view that's available only in the TeamBack view is the board view. The board view allows us to see the tasks in the context of the user story or defect and allows the developer to easily switch between phases. So if he starts with a specific task, he can move it from new to in progress and then to complete it. He can also easily create new tasks directly from here in a very, very easy interface. Stories in the Team Backlog module also provide a board story to allow the user to easily move the stories between the team, between the different areas. The stories in the Team Backlog module also provide a board view, and this allows the team members to easily see the tasks at a glance and easily change the status again. Stories and defects can also be shown in a board view in the Team Backlog module, and this allows the user or the team member to easily drag and drop the stories between different statuses without having to go into any specific field. We can see all the user stories that are assigned to a specific release, or we can see the defects. And we can easily adjust the size of the card to match the available space. As you can see, defects and stories have a different life cycle, so we can see all of the different phases depending on the type of the item, and the system will tell us where we can't drop it, so it will continue to enforce the rules that we defined on how the process should go. If any of the statuses are not interesting, I can easily hide them to provide a space for other statuses to show more clearly. Now that we've seen all the backlog management aspects of the product, let's go into quality. Quality in ALM Octane is defined in two modules. One of them is called defect and the other is quality. Defects module just shows you a list of all the defects in the system, and it allows you to quickly and narrow down and look at the defects aspect of your system. It provides all of the capabilities of other ALM Octane modules, such as quick filtering to release, phases, and even search and context. It's a very, very simple module. Quality is a much more interesting module, and in quality we actually introduced a couple of new concepts, which I will go over now. So it does provide all the regular module features that we already discussed. In application modules, we also get the dashboard that will adapt itself, tests, features that are related to a specific application area, and defects. The quality module is used to monitor the quality of your application. The quality module is built on top of a concept called application modules, which is just a tree that logically defines your application. This application module tree is defined by the user or by the business analyst and allows the user to easily see exactly how the application is broken down logically and allows you to track the quality by logical business areas. For example, I can see that in messaging my situation is pretty good because most of my tests are actually passing. But if I go into groups, I can see that my situation is much worse and I have to take care of it because I have a lot of red tests. This can be done for any one of the areas and I can quickly see exactly where I'm standing. In the quality area module, we have overview, tests, features, and defects. Of special interest are the tests, which introduce a lot of new areas in the system. One of the things that I can see here is that if I click on unassigned, I can see all the tests that were not assigned yet to a specific group. I can drag them to any specific module and the system will automatically assign it, and from now on the system will know that this specific test is related to this specific module. I can do this as much as I want, and I can also drag multiple tests together. Once I drag them, they will disappear from the unassigned folder, and this way I can know which tests were not yet applied to a specific module and know what work I still have to do in order to classify everything. Okay, the first type of test is manual test. Manual tests are very, very similar to tests that are used in ALM. The main difference is that we're now using a text-based interface. So this means that writing a test is as simple as adding a dash and writing your step. We have three types of steps. So we have a regular step, we have a validation step, which will ask the user in the runner to say whether it succeeded or not, and we have a call step, which will call a different manual test in order to complete a test. Okay, this should be used for stuff like running a login scenario, which happens a lot, and you don't want to rewrite it over and over again. As you can see, you can easily use the toolbar to create a test, or you can just type the dashes and the test will automatically understand this. You can see the steps for the call to test if you click on the little footprint icon. The other view we have here is a regular manual view or regular GUI view where you can open each step, edit it, or add new ones, and it will add them like it did in the previous ALM version. One more thing that we can do here, which is nice, is that after we save, we can easily go and see the versions of the test that were created, and I can easily go and see what was added between the different versions. So if I'll take the first version and the last version, I can compare between them, and I can see that okay, not good. I can see all of the lines that were added between the first version and the second version. This allows me to easily understand where did the step go through and what changes were made in order to understand why some things happened. One last thing that I can do, which is very important, is that I can version the test. So I can actually give it a name and give it a version, and I can attach it to a specific release. This is important because the system will later on realize what step belongs to what release, and when you run a test on a specific release, the system will take the last version that was assigned to the release instead of taking the latest version, and this allows you to continue on evolving the test as your product progresses without having to worry about running a test that matches the current version. Other two types of tests that I have. The first one is called Gherkin Test. Gherkin tests are very similar, only instead of having steps, they actually write a script. The script is written in a language that's called Gherkin. It's an open language that defines tests in a very, very, very strict way. This is one example where I have to have a feature and I have to have a given when then structure. One of the nice things here is that I can already use parameters. So if you can look here, you can see that customer is in little brackets, and the system will actually pick the customer from the list and will create multiple versions of this test. So this is just like using parameters. All the other capabilities are here, like running them, versioning, etc., etc., etc. And one more thing that I can do, I can use this as a background work. I can run this manually, but I can also take this test and run it in an automatic manner by writing a script behind it. This is fully supported and will be demoed in a different webcast. The last type of test is actually a group of tests and it's called test suite. Test suite is basically just a combination of tests. I can add as many tests as I want of the two types. It can be either a Gherkin test or a manual test. And when I click run it on a test suite, it will basically run all of these tests in order for me. So I will get the runner and the runner will show all the tests. The manual test runner, when I actually run a test, I have a couple of options. The first option is to give the run a name so I can find it later. The second option is to match this run with a specific release, which is an option. And I can also tag it with specific environments. This is important because it later allows the system to do two things. For example, I can tell the system that I'm currently running this on Chrome. Or I can say Firefox or whatever browser I'm using. When I run the test, later on the system will automatically tag it with the Chrome environment tag. This will allow me to see the status of the tests in light of the environments that we're running in. So let's say I run a test in Chrome and in Firefox. Later on the system will be able to tell me that the test passed on Chrome but failed on Firefox, which is an important detail. One more thing I can do is I can use either the latest version or I can choose any version that I want or any release that I want. Okay, so I can tell the system I don't want to run this test on the latest release. I want to make sure that it runs on my first release and take the version that was set there. Here you can see the effect of the environments, and if we look at the last runs, basically what we're seeing here is all the runs broken down to very specific environments. If I go and actually look at the runs, I can see that each one of these runs was run on a different environment. For example, Chrome, staging, Chrome and MS SQL and QA together, SUSE and WinPhone, etc., etc., etc. I can easily see all the statuses and I can see if they were running properly or not. One less capability that I have is the ability to plan a run but not run it immediately. I can click on plan run and then fill in all the information but also assign it to a specific user. Once I assign it to a specific user, this test will not run immediately, but the user will get notified that he needs to run this test, and he'll be able to see all the tests that are assigned to him so he can run them later. This is a capability for the team leaders to easily assign the tests. Instead of sending them an email on what test they need to run, they can just assign them in the system, and the user will get a list of what he has to do. One of the exciting new capabilities in ALM Octane is the ability to integrate with your current CI/CD DevOps pipeline and to be able to get automatic information from the pipelines directly into Octane and give you a better visibility into what's going on in the pipelines. In order to do that, we have a pipelines module that does just that. The pipeline will allow you to easily integrate all your pipelines into Octane. For each pipeline, you will get a brief overview that shows you when it was last run, how long it took, whether it succeeded or not, and how many failures you have in your tests. And you'll be able to drill down into any specific pipeline to get additional information. If we're going to click down on a specific pipeline, what we can see is we can quickly see how long it took, if it actually took longer or shorter time, how many commits we have, who are the committers, and if we have any failed tests and whether they're new or existing. We can also see a brief history of this run to be able to understand whether it's been failing consistently or not. In addition to that, for each run, we can actually see the topology as it is described inside your CI system. This is mostly for diagnostic issues, but it can also do stuff like assigning a specific test type, testing tool, test levels, or environments to your specific job. Once you assign this, what's going to happen is that every time you're going to run the build, the system will automatically assign all those tags to your runs, and you'll be able to easily categorize everything without having to do any manual work after that. In order to track this, we're using a special type of test that's called automatic test and automatic run. They're not like regular tests, which means they cannot be run from Octane directly, but they do allow you to track all the information and show it to you in the same way that Octane shows all that information. Those automatic tests and runs are available in all the modules that can show tests like quality, backlog, and other modules that show them. If I go down into a specific build and drill down, I can do a couple of things that will help me understand why the build failed. So in the drill down, I can see the failure rate and to see the history, whether it succeeded or not in the past couple of runs. I can see again the failed test and whether they're new or not, and I can see the changed files, including seeing the actual changes with a file list. One more thing that I can do here, which is really, really important, is the ability to analyze the failures. Analyzing the failures means that I can see how many tests passed or failed, again, the new and existing test, and I can actually see a list of runs and quickly drill down into any of them and see information about the actual run. Some important information about the run is, again, the history. I can see it in the context of the build. And most importantly, I can actually see the error message and why it failed, okay, including stack trace if provided by your CI system. I can also go and drill down to the previous one of this specific run and see exactly what were the failure rates and whether it's consistent or not. And as I can see here, this test has failed a lot in the past couple of days, but every time it failed on something else, so it's probably not related. In order to analyze all the information that's being piped through the different areas into the system, we provide the dashboard module. The dashboard module in Octane is a very, very important and special place for us because it allows us to see a lot of information and allows us to utilize the unique position of Octane where it combines a lot of information streams into coherent, analytic, and informational displays. The dashboard itself allows several types of widgets, starting from very simple widgets that just summarize and allow you to put all the information into a graph, like the amount of defects that you have according to teams and severities, and it allows you to do more complex stuff. One of the things that it allows you to do is it allows you to see stuff over time by trends. So here we can see the burn down of a specific release over time. We can see how many defects are being opened and closed over time. And we can see stuff that's a unique combination of different streams. For example, we can see all the runs of tests broken down into specific browsers. Okay, the main idea here is that we can see which browser we're testing, how much coverage we have, and we get to see both manual and automatic coverage in one widget that gives us a good snapshot of where we're standing. We also provide a number of very, very unique widgets. Some of the unique widgets we provide is the ability to see only problematic tests, okay, according to whether they're a regression, they started failing recently, whether they're continuously failing, continuously skipped, or oscillating, which means they pass and skip on a regular interval, which probably means there's a problem with the way the test is run or the problem with the environment of the test where it keeps on changing. One more very unique widget to provide is the ability to see the quality of the application broken down into the application modules or the logical areas of the system. Here we can see that many of the areas are red, but some are green. We can define exactly what's the criteria for any specific quality by telling the system that I want to see only places that have more than 10 critical defects or any other filter that I want to do. And I can actually say that I want to see only modules that have any failing test. Changing the criteria will change the structure of the graph and will show you a different view into the quality of the area. Clicking on any of the failing areas will show me a breakdown of exactly why I decided it's a failing area and will allow me to drill down and get the actual details. So I can see what critical defects I have open in this case. In addition to that, any widget inside the dashboard allows me a quick drill down and I can click on any of the categories and get a breakdown of the entities that compose that specific group, and I can actually drill down into any specific entity, see what's going on with the entity, and come back into the same context without losing the context. This allows me to easily create an analysis dashboard that will let me see exactly where I'm standing and how I'm doing. I can create new widgets by either selecting a pre-made widget, or I can define my own by create custom graph, and then I have a lot of customizability options like choosing a regular graph, a trend graph, what's the scope of my graph, and how I want to display it. In addition to all of that, I can change the layout of the dashboard to match exactly what I need to do, so I can easily make the dashboard go into a 333 configuration or any other configuration that I want. The last module in the system is the My Work module. The My Work module can either be accessed via the menu, or it can be accessed via a dedicated icon on your masthead or on the top of the screen. The icon will show you how much work you actually have to do and how many new items were added since you last accessed the My Work area. The unique aspect of My Work is for the individual contributor, and My Work will allow any contributor to see exactly the work that they have to do. This is designed for the people who actually do the work and not managers, and the idea is that instead of having to navigate or traverse the entire system to figure out everything that they have to do, we put everything on one specific screen. Some of the nice things in My Work is that it allows you to aggregate everything together. It allows you to refresh it. It allows you to see what new items you have that were added since the last time you accessed this area and completed some of the work. And for every entity in the system, it allows you to specifically interact with it. So for example, on a defect, I can move it to fixed. And for a run, I can actually run the test directly through here without going anywhere else in the system. This allows me to quickly complete my work without having to navigate different areas of the system. Another nice feature that we have in My Work is called mentioning comments. The idea is that I can go into any comment and start with the @ symbol and type a name. And basically the system will complete the name for me, and I can type any comment that I want. Once I do that, the system will automatically add this item as a mention in comment item, and I can go into the mention in comment item and see exactly what were the comments and what item this is related to. So I can easily see, I can easily interact with the users without resorting to sending emails. This also allows me to track the history of the item directly inside the system. Once I'm done with the comment and I did whatever was asked of me, I can easily dismiss this and finish with the item. ALM Octane allows for an extensive amount of customizability in order to make sure the system matches your process and the way you work exactly and not force you into any specific flow. In order to achieve that, we actually provide a couple of things. The first thing is that we provide workspaces. You can create as many workspaces as you need in order to allow each team or each group to work in a specific way, in a specific flow that they want. Each workspace actually contains a whole set of settings that you can set and customize in order to make sure that the flow fits. For each one of the entities, we provide 4 ways to customize the application. I will try to quickly go over them and give you an overview of what you can do. So I would start with workflow. Workflow is basically a definition of what my entity has to go through in order to be done. So if we'll take a defect, for example, a defect can go from being new to being opened, fixed, proposed closed, and then closed. This is called the mainline flow, or basically the bold lines signify that this is what the system will go through without making any alterations, but there can also be alternate flows. For example, going from new directly to rejected or duplicate. This allows the administrator in a very, very easy manner to define a lot of rules in the system or the flow in the system without defining any specific rules. Once you define this flow, the system will enforce it and will not allow any of the items in your system to move directly from one phase to a phase that's not connected. In addition to that, we provide rules. And rules are just a list of actions that I can take on a specific condition. Some of the actions that I can take are making something requirement, making it read-only, using a specific form, setting a value, and I can even send an email or call a URL to do any kind of external work that you need. I need to tell the system what items I'm working on. For example, in make required, I need to say what field is going to become required. And for call URL, I have to actually supply the URL. And I can also define a condition with a very, very, very advanced condition editor that allows me to specify exactly when and how this rule will be applied. The condition editor can provide an unlimited amount of conditions, so you can specify and kind of direct the rule exactly to what you need. This is all done in conjunction with workflow, because I can go into workflow and basically set a rule on a specific phase. So I can go into any of the phases and assign a rule to this phase specifically. In this way, I can make a rule apply only when a phase reaches, only when the defect or the entity reaches that specific phase. For example, I can make owner required once it reaches open, because when defect is open, somebody should be handling it. I can also define fields, as many as I need, in order to make the application usable and to be able to support my processes. Those fields are available both in the rules and in the entire section, in the entire ecosystem of rules. And last, I can define forms. Forms are unique in the format that they allow me to define several views into the application. And make any of them default. So I have a system-defined form from new, which is usually simpler than the form for edit. And I can also define my own custom form. When I define a custom form, I can add as many sections and fields as I want. And the system is completely graphical. So I can just drag and drop and make it look exactly the way I want, click save. And once I have a custom form, I can actually use it in the rules to change. So for example, if I have specific fields that I need to fill only when the severity is critical, I can easily go and use the use form rule, make it go into custom form and say that the condition is severity is critical. If I click OK now, this rule will run every time that severity will go into critical. This rule will actually run and will affect the system. I hope you enjoyed this brief introduction into ALM Octane. We're looking forward to interacting with you and getting your feedback. There is a lot coming up, and I hope you'll enjoy the new features that we will deliver in the upcoming releases.